Hey guys, this is a custom knife made by a Romanian knife maker. About 3 months ago, he asked me if I wanted to test one of his knives. He sent me a few pictures and then he sent me the knife. I was more than happy to. I told him it was going to take some time, but he said it's fine. And I also asked him what he envisioned when he made this knife. He said just a small bushcraft all around camp knife. I was also very happy when he told me it's okay to put it through the paces. Now, when I got the knife, it was sharp, and that was the first good thing. Sometimes when you'll get a custom knife or a production knife, it won't be shaving sharp. This one was. Even though you can still see the sharpening lines from when it was ground, the very apex of the edge is polished and it is sharp. I did not put this knife to stone or with a ceramic rod, I merely stropped it. Now, I started testing it, doing things that you might do while camping or bushcrafting around. Splitting wood, making feather sticks, trying to carve the one or other thing. It surprised me because I tested it against my Enzo Trapper. And I've always said that if you're going to get yourself a bushcraft knife, I think the Enzo Trapper is the best production made bushcraft knife you can get if you don't want to get a Mora. And this one has a lower edge angle than my Enzo Trapper. It went through stuff much easier, even though I keep the blade of my Enzo Trapper polished. That is for two reasons. One, because this is D2, and while it will not stain so quickly as O1 or A2, it does. And if you keep a polished edge, what I found was it's very easy to clean and dry, so it won't get any stains. And the second one was because it helps it glide through wood when you're slicing. So that's why I keep a polished edge. And this one does not have a polished edge, but it has a lower edge angle. So it took less effort for it to go through wood. Now, during the cutting wood shavings and batoning and all that stuff, I managed to put a bit of a warp in the blade right here. I'm hoping you can see that. That's not such a big deal, at least not for me. I was more pleasantly surprised by the fact that it had such a thin grind and such a low edge angle. It performed so well. That for me is much more important. If you take the case of the Mora Garberg, which has a very steep secondary bevel, I prefer this because it's very easy for me to add a secondary bevel if I want one, but it's a bit more hassle to remove one. And like I said, that's why I prefer this. The knife blade was made out of a circular saw blade, so it's not a high-end steel. However, I think for how it performed, how it held its edge, the heat treatment is good. I have a few issues. Well, I have one issue actually. The handle. I'm missing a bit of material right here. If you were to look at the handle of my Trapper, it has more. It makes it easier to control. Now, one thing I did complain about the Trapper always was the thinness of the handle. It is not the case for this knife. It's not thin. It sits very well in hand, but I am missing a bit of material right here. Of course, if you're going to get a custom knife made for you, you can ask the knife maker to make the handle however you want to. Having said all that, in the chest lever grip, this knife really nestles in my hand. If I'm going to hold it like this, I don't even feel it. And that was one of the first things I did because I wanted to see how much effort it would take for me to cut a stick like this, this knife versus the Trapper. And it goes through the wood very easy, and it's more comfortable than my Trapper. Now, the Trapper will also have no problem going through wood, and having a bit a steeper edge angle, it's going to part the wood more. So if you're doing that on dry wood, it might help you out. But the handle is by far not as comfortable in this position. I keep feeling this corner, and in summer, if you're going to do this and you're going to press your knife into your chest, the butt of the knife, the handle, you're going to feel it. Of course, you could round it off. I choose not to. It's not such a big issue, but I was pleasantly surprised at how well this sat in my hand and how it did not bother me at all. The fact that it has this little warping here has nothing to say, at least not for me. You can only, or at least I can only see it by how the light is reflecting. And like I said, I have not sharpened this knife. I mainly kept it sharp using a leather strap. All around, I am pleasantly surprised. I mean, this is going to be a relatively low-cost knife that performs very well, has a small edge angle, is very comfortable, and as for the sheath, it fits the knife very well. The knife's not going to fall out of the sheath, and it has a longer belt loop, which means two things. You're going to be able to put a very wide belt through it, and it's going to sit a bit lower. Now, if you have a sheath that fits the knife well, that's a very good thing, because the knife will move more freely, and when you're bending to pick something up or sitting down, it's not going to poke you in any way. The original Enzo Trapper sheath had that dangler system, which for me works very well. However, I prefer my current Trapper sheath. This is my favorite leather sheath. Even if it sits very high on my belt, I feel that it is very safe. The one thing that surprised me was the fact that I could not get decent sparks off a ferrocerium rod, even with this very sharp spine. But that was not the spine, that was the ferrocerium rod. As soon as I used my Mora ferrocerium rod, it worked like a charm. All around, I think this is a very cool little knife. A bit too small for me, and like I said, I am missing a bit of material here. Other than that, I think it's pretty well made. Feels like a solid piece. I don't feel that it's gonna break on me. I did not have those thoughts while batoning it. I didn't think it was gonna break, because if the heat treatment is alright, in the fight of steel versus wood, steel is gonna win. And this is 3.5 millimeters thick, so it's not gonna have a problem. A bit small for me, but it does do an excellent job. If you want more information about this knife, check out the description box. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them in the comment section and I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. I'd like to thank you for watching, and as always, I wish you all a great day.